Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strategy Gaming Dojo, where we find, learn, and play one more turn of the great strategy games. And today we're going to continue on with Field of Glory Empires. We're having a lot of fun with this one. I believe this is episode number 3. And it's interesting because I'm also playing Imperator Rome now that the new Imperator Rome update has dropped. It's interesting to compare and contrast the two games. Give me a second here. I gotta wrap my mind back around the fact that I'm playing this game as opposed to Imperator. I will say this game is simpler in some respects. I do think it's a very deep game under the surface, but it maybe does a little more with less. All right, and I'll just leave it there. So where were we? We are the Arverni, who famously fought the Romans naked. That's why I like to play them. No, actually, that it's true that many of these Gallic Celtic tribes out here in France did fight naked, but that's not why we were playing them. They are just an interesting faction in the sense that they're not one of the bigger factions or more powerful factions, but neither is anyone else in Gaul, what would become Gaul from the Galli here. And so we have a chance to expand, take over some territory. Hopefully, the Romans won't set their eyes towards Gaul very early, and we can build up something that we can defend. So we have marched from our capital here at Arvernia, and we've gone to Durranius, which we took over, and we've also gone to Santonia, which we have taken over. These are part of Aquitania, as you see here, and if we go down here to, I'll find it in a moment, the province overlay, we actually jumped out of our province, which are, our capital is in Gallia. But we've jumped over here to Aquitania. Why have we done that? Well, we needed to get to the sea. And so we either did that to the south, we could have come down here, or we do it to the west. So we came up this way. You could do it either way, I guess. But generally, coming over here is probably a better play because down here you have Emporia and Massalia, which are two independent kingdoms that would surround you if you came and took this. However, as you see this spinning item here, this means that this is a new objective for us. So the game wants us to go get this. And what would that do? That would take away one of our negative tokens. And we've been talking a bit about this interesting mechanic that's in the game where your civilization can progress, but it also decays. And as it decays, or as you're in the bottom of kind of the stability of your kingdom, you start to get negative tokens. Or on the other end of the spectrum, as your kingdom becomes more stable, as you have a kind of a better grasp on the people in your kingdom, you can get positive tokens, and we'll go into that more and more as we play the game. Now, as you see here, so we have our army up here. Its flag is a little frayed, so it's getting a little tired. It's made the run from here to here to here. It's also not getting enough food. The available food is 6, it's -2, and we're using 9 food. And so we're getting underfed. We don't have enough supply out here. And, we need to look at that and make sure our army does not get too run down. Now, we do have the best army in what will become Gaul. We have a 99. The Aquitani down here have, what is that, a 45? We don't see any other army, but we saw them at the start. They've moved around because of Fog of War. We've kind of lost track of them at this point, but we did have the biggest and best army. Now, what are we going to do with this army? We can move up here and try to take this, although that starts to get a little kind of far away from our base, our home base here. We are building one infantry unit, but that would not be enough to protect our capital. We also have a garrison here because it's our capital. We have unbreached walls, 3 of 3, and a garrison. Minimum garrison strength is 30, which isn't bad when you look that the Aquitani have 45 here. protecting our capital, that's not bad. We also have some things that have popped up here. Regent Arvinia is receiving one slave after the battle in Santonia. And that's what happened. So we took over Santonia here, and their pops, what do we have in Santonia? Well, we only have one pop left. It's one citizen. We're going to put this person up here in food. And so when we left click, it'll tell us what it will take away from infrastructure. Well, we really don't need to worry about infrastructure. We're not building anything. We don't have anything out here to maintain. What we really need is food. So let's move him up there, and that takes us to a +1 each turn. And you can read down there in food production, but ultimately you don't have to really. You can just look here. Each turn we're getting a +1, and we had 6 stored up. All right. Infrastructure is for your buildings, upkeep, and also building new ones. Money kind of goes without explanation. Culture, that is this nebulous sort of thing where you're bringing these people into your culture. You want to build that culture, build buildings that up their culture, and that will bring them more into harmony with your empire. All right. Now, what are these things up here? Uh, this has been rated, all right, so that gives a loyalty penalty, a food penalty, all kinds of penalties here. That's going to last for 4 turns. When a province has been rated, you can just kind of forget about doing anything there other than trying to produce enough food to keep your pops alive. So, if something's been rated, and we'll get into this later as we expand even more, you do have raiders that will come from these independent territories, or they can be raiders even from, let's say the Adui, let's just say we took over this. The Adui may send raiders over here, even though we're not at war, and mess around with our province. And so, when raiders strike, it generally lasts about 4 turns, which is 4 years in this game, and it reduces everything that you've got in a province. And so it's a bad thing. We can build walls, we can build fortifications, and we will be doing that to lessen the amount of raids that are successful, because you can beat them off as well. But we'll get into that as we get more into the game. This is also under pacification. That means that it has a new ruler. Well, now that ruler is us, and we're trying to pacify the population. I think it's a very realistic part of this game. When you take over a new territory, you're going to have all sorts of negative things happen as you try to pacify them. This is also going to take 4, and that's a general rule. It takes about 4 turns to get out from underneath that. And so as you expand, it's just something you need to think about. What is this? It's an objective, and we have it now. So we get these objectives as time goes along, where the game says we think you should try to go get this area. Maybe that could be good advice. Maybe it's bad advice sometimes, but it will get rid of any bad, or will get rid of at least one bad token. Or if we're neutral at the time, it will give us a good token. All right. And again, like I said, we'll get more and more into those tokens. So we've taken this over. What are we going to do? We move the pop up here so that it's producing enough food to stay alive. And that's really all we can do. And so that uh, province, this region, is not going to be doing anything for at least 4 turns, really, other than producing its own food. And again, you can see everything that's happened in a region up here. Uh, in the reign of Cratolus, which is our ruler, objective region Santonio has pledged allegiance to Arverni. Excellent. That's why it's our kind of pinkish neon color or whatever that is. +1 progress tokens. All right. As I was saying, with the objectives, we got a +1 progress token. Our armies marched into Santonio and conquered the region from the Celtic independence, and a battle has been fought. We could go look at that if we wanted to, but no reason to. We just defeated this independent army very easily. Now let's go down to Duranius. What's going on in Duranius? Um, still have them under pacification, but that started last turn, so that's down to 3 turns now. It is a very negative thing. Now, one thing we decided to do last time, rather than having our citizen pop just produce food, which, okay, let's just, move him up there for a second and see what happens. We would get a new pop in 7 turns, but we could not build our orchard, all right? Because we went to +5 food per turn, which affects how fast your population grows, but our infrastructure would be 0. So we kind of did the calculation and said, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and build the orchard here? That will produce more food in and of itself, and that way we're kind of starting to develop the region. Now you could go back and forth and say maybe it's more max min to do food first, get a new pop, then start building things. Those are all the decisions you make when you play the game. As you look over here, this is kind of its decadence score. It's still green, so we're okay. That's the loyalty score. This is the defense rating. And this tells you, okay, it takes 2 to move through this, and it's a plane, so the frontage is 14. And we talked all about that last time. So we're going to leave this the same. There's nothing to do with this region this turn. And let's go to our capital. Now, what is this? Region Arvernia received 1 slave after the Battle of Santonia, and a shepherd house has been completed in Arvernia. Now, you may remember when we first started out here, we started building a shepherd house. And we can look at this. It's a tier 1 agricultural building. It produces wool and it gives us food +5. So now our food is +13 every turn. That's great, right? Excellent. We also got a new pop here that was a slave. And as I've said before, you really want to think about you only have, slaves or citizens. And you want to keep the slaves up here on these kind of tasks, food and infrastructure. And you keep trying to move your citizens down to money and culture. So last time we moved this guy down to culture because we are expanding very fast. And so we have an unstable empire. And we need to get as much culture developed as we can to stabilize our empire. So we're getting more food, which is meaning that we will get a new pop in 5 turns. So that's good. We want to get more citizens because if you look up here, our loyalty is only 70. And you may say, well, gosh, that seems a little low for your capital. And it is. I mean, it really kind of is. But that's because, look, 4 of our 8 pops are slaves. They are not going to be as loyal, obviously, to your empire as citizens are going to be. Now, as the game progresses, I will show you ways that we can distribute the slaves to other places if they start to run a revolt risk, or we can turn them into citizens as we unlock certain things. Okay, the decadence here is okay. We haven't really built too much. Now, decadence will build up as you build certain buildings, as you have more slaves, as you have other things that happen. Your decadence will go up, but it's not bad right now, mainly because we moved this guy down to culture. So we're starting to try to build our own culture, and this shows that it's our capital. Now, we do have 12 infrastructure points every turn and a couple in the bank here, so we can build a building. Now, what do we want to build? I talked a little bit about this previously, but the trade good section of this game, I think, is excellent. I just think it's so good. It makes you think, and it makes a lot of sense once you get your arms around it. And so let's go down here. We did the shepherd house. It produces wool. So let's look at the trade goods section, the trade good overlay. And now you see we now produce wool. We started the game producing silver because we do have a silver mine, and that produces silver. And now we produce wool. And that's good, right? You want to start producing as many things as you can, and then the trading aspect comes into it. But we're going to be exploring trade more and more. Let's hit the trade details here. Natural trade goods. Silver, it's just natural to our capital. Manufactured trade goods, wool. Okay, and it will tell you what it provides, what else it leads to, structures that need it, structures using it. You can go into a lot of detail looking at these things. And then we see missing trade good. All right, and I talked about this a little bit last time, but I really want to focus on this because it's such a key concept of the game, and that is missing trade good. When they're up here, you need to get these things as fast as you can. Why is that? Because you need this and you're trading for it, but you're paying 9 gold every turn to get it. All right. And some of these things get really expensive. And especially for something like flax, which is very common, it's, you can build a flax field in every region. It's very, you don't want to ever be paying for flax. Let's put it this way. It should be somewhere in your empire. Unfortunately, it's not. Okay, and you can see down here the structure needing it is the barracks. The barracks needs that. Why the hell they need flax at the barracks? I don't know. They're building things in the barracks, or they're building arrows and they need flax seed for something. I have no idea. But they need it, and we're paying 9 gold every turn because we don't have it. So we need to try to get flax as soon as possible. Then you have the second item, missing bonus trade goods. This is not as dire, okay? Because this is not that you're paying to get this, which would be gold. What this is telling you is if you can produce gold somewhere in your empire, you will get a bonus here because if you can get this trade good in here, we're not willing to pay for it like we are with flax because we've got to have flax. But instead, down here, if we can get it, or I shouldn't say get it, if we can produce it, we will get a bonus. And in this case, it would be plus 10 money. So as you see here, if we can build a flax field somewhere and we can get gold, we would get 19 more gold pieces every turn. Well, that's important. Why? Well, right now we're negative 18 per turn for gold. We have a little bit of a stockpile, but this would really help us out. All right. And every region has this. If we go over to this region and look at the trade situation, our trade in Duranius, we have figs. Now, we don't have any buildings, so we don't need anything. We're not missing any bonuses. And also, we're under pacification here. We're actually putting it on, but you get what I mean. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting system. If we go up here, same idea, trade details, this produces salt, this region. We haven't built any buildings yet, so that does not come into play yet. But up here in Arvernia, we need flax. And unfortunately, we did not get Flaxfield as one of our choices here. When you go to the new buildings, so we click on this because we're not building anything, and this will be blank when you're not building anything. We go up here, there's always food, health, all right, and food and health both go in this top area. Then you have infrastructure here. So this is, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't start building until we hit next turn. But this is wood cutting, and it'll tell you it produces lumber. Could be important, right? Clear water. This is a health thing. Like I said, health really is like food. It goes into the food slots, but it makes your people healthier. It cuts down on disease. The last thing you want in your capital is a disease that starts to wipe out pops or cuts back on what you're producing. It's just a killer early in the game. Literally, pun intended. It's literally a killer early in the game. Now you'll notice this green around here. This means it will not take up a building slot. So let's click on that and then let's go back up here. If we're on this, infrastructure costs 0, all right? And so you can build this and slot usage is 0. So we have a maximum number of buildings that we can build right now. And if we look, we are on 4 of 8 in our building slots. So this shows white. We still have room to grow. But if you do the clean water, that costs you no building slots. So it's always a very good one to get early. Just put it in there, and it will cost you no slot, as will the guard tower. The guard tower, if we click on this, slot usage 0. It gives you 3 more garrison points, all right? But it does cost some infrastructure and manpower that we haven't really gotten into that much. Um, so we also have the ranch, which produces cattle. All right. We don't know that we need cattle right now. It gives you food. It takes away 1 infrastructure point. All right. We're doing okay on food. We don't need that. I'm probably going to pick clear water, but we'll come back up here and look at these again. Guard tower gives you that. We have the market, which is the money. All right. So you go food, health, infrastructure, military. So infrastructure and military are in the second rank here. And you see these are level 1, level 2, level 2, level 2. Food and health are up here. So you always have 2 choices to go in your top slot, 2 choices, infrastructure and military. Then we have money and we have culture. So here's money, here's culture. And then if you don't like any of the choices, you can shuffle the cards. All right. So this time I think we're going to do clear water. Why are we going to do that? Well, a few reasons. It doesn't take a slot. We want to keep the people in our capital healthy. If they do get a plague, it hurts you for 4 turns. It's almost like being under pacification. It's a terrible penalty. So this gives us, let's look at this again. Sorry, up here. It gives us 5 health. Our health bonus is 5%. All right, so we'll be 5% healthier. That's a good thing for sure. Um, and it only takes 1 turn to build. Okay, and so you see that up here. How many turns does it take to build these things? 1 turn. Well, we really want a flax field or a flax field close or something similar. Well, I say something similar, or we want to build it in one of these other ones because it's costing us 9 gold every turn not having a flax field. So this only taking 1 turn will give us a lot of choices. It gives us a good thing. It's almost like shuffling, right? Because shuffle takes 1 turn. We'll get new choices next time. But with this one, it's 1 turn and we get some clean water. So it's kind of like a doubly good thing. So we'll do clean water here. Meanwhile, let's bring our army back closer to home. What is the forage value here? It's a 7. What's our forage value at home? All right, so available food back here is a 12, and we're getting 13 every turn. The forage value is only 6, but we need 9 to feed this army. Luckily, we have some food stored up here. So why don't we just kind of jump through here? Now, remember, this is a forest. It's going to have a much smaller frontage. And one of the advantages our army has is that it's big. We've got a lot of units here. In a forest, let's go look at the frontage. The frontage is only a 6, so it will put our best 6 units on the front line. Um, but these units generally get a penalty for fighting in a forest. So, it's not going to matter this time because we're just fighting these Celtic independence. But if we were fighting the Galli, we would want to avoid fighting in the forest. right now we want a bigger frontage and um, we do not want difficult terrain because we have heavy infantry. Okay, with all of that said, I think we've covered everything. And as you'll start to see, this is a real play one more turn kind of game because all we really needed to do, and I know that I explained a lot there, but all we really needed to do was go here, move our pop up here to produce food so they had enough food every turn. We went down here, we looked at it, we said, okay, this is fine, we're still building our orchard. We went here, we have a new slave, we they're in food production, okay. We finished our shepherd house and we picked clean water, and that's it. And now we're moving our army. That's all we really had to do this turn, and we will hit next turn. And let's see what happens. It resolves pretty quickly. It's we go. Okay, these are the Celtic independents that we always run into in these unclaimed territories. So let's view the battle. And as you can see the smaller frontage across here. Now we have skirmishers, they do not. We're going to put this on continuous play and just watch it play out. Excellent. So we've tired them out. Now, as you see, our general is a +1 offensive, so he gets an extra dice roll above and beyond the base dice roll. These guys are actually giving us a decent fight. We've killed two of their units, but they just harmed one of ours. We won the initial battle, and so we get to pursue. Why did we win that? Because we killed two of their units, and they didn't kill any of ours in the initial impact. So after that, all of our units back here get to pursue. Well, I say that, that's not really true. These units pursue because of the low frontage. We can't flank them, we can't do anything really. And so we won that battle. We killed three of their units, we won the battle. Now, we did have this one unit that got kind of messed up a little bit here. They have zero effectiveness now. And we had one that took some hits. All right, so our army got bloodied a little bit there, but we still took the territory, of course. We just had way too much strength, and the game will continue processing the turn. And when it does that, it runs the AI up here, and it runs through all of the different factions, completes the AI. You can also read tips up here if you want to. And then what happened? Well, we're still way down here at the bottom when it comes to culture and decadence. And as you can see, we went -1 that turn because other cultures are advancing and we're really not. We only have one person in culture, and we have not built any buildings. So it's going to be hard for us to advance until we can start to do that. So we did get another negative token here. I say another. We had gotten one before, but then we took an objective that took one away, and now we add one. So we're all the way down here, and when you're in the red, you have a chance to get a negative token, progress token. The people in the white do not. They don't gain or lose. And if you're in the green, you can see these are white. They have a chance to gain a progress token, which will take their civilization to new levels. Meanwhile, legacy, we're up to a 5. We now control 4 provinces plus our home. That's giving us a 5. We're tied for 32nd place. Who's in first? Uh, Antigonos, Sparta, Ptolemos, Carthage, so some names that you would definitely know from this time period are way up here. Let's hope we can catch up. Where's Rome? Just out of curiosity. I always like to see Rome not doing well because Rome is our biggest threat. If they get powerful enough, they will come up into Gaul. So now we see we're getting +2 for legacy every time, and we have 5. You can see that there. We're gaining 4 metal, all right. We're losing 4 manpower, and we're losing a lot of gold. That is because we're maintaining this very big army, And you can go up here just like a paradox game and see why you're losing gold every turn. But you can see here military upkeep negative 68. That's really hurting us, right? And we're going to have to do something about that before we go negative. So let's go back to the map and let's look at our little pop-ups here. Uh, Lemov, Lemovicia saw an invasion by the Galli. The local militia was beaten and some pillaging occurred. So the Galli up here pillaged this region, likely before we ever even got here. That stinks because we're going to have that pillage penalty. Limavicia has been added to our nation. Excellent. And a battle has been fought. Yes, we just watched it. It looks like our army got in a little better supply here, and the flag is not as tattered. Now, we did take some losses there. So our combat value was 99, now it's 78. It's gone down. We're still stronger than the Galli, it appears, although there's always a little fog of war there. Now, let's go look at this region. First of all, what does this region produce? It produces lead. Okay, it's got a trade value of 5, trade income of 0. Structures needing it are a lead mine and sewers. Structures using it are forges, tools, and arsenals. All right, so this is brand new. Commerce, negative 100%. That's not good, let me tell you. So they don't have enough food here. Let's move a pop up to food. All right, so that made that 0 and 0. One thing I like about the system, you click on it and it tells you how much it's going to take away and how much it's going to add. So this is not going to hurt us at all. So let's go ahead and move him up here. And now it's +3 food. We'll get a new pop in 6 turns. Um, we can go look at the build. Oh, it's the flax field. No! Interesting. What happens if we click here and go here? All right, now we wouldn't gain a pop for 12 turns because we're kind of neutral for food, but we have a +4 infrastructure now, so we could build a building, including a flax field. Now it'll take 9 turns, which is really a lot. But if you look at the kind of the cost benefit here, if we go up here, we get a new pop in 6 turns. If we take that pop, move it down here, we get it in 12 turns, but we can build something that takes 9 turns. So we're going to build that flax field right there because we need it. Okay, and that's really all there is to do in this region, and it'll be that way for a while. What's going on over here? Same old, same old. We can't build anything. They're just barely feeding themselves. They're still rated. They're still under pacification. Okay, nothing to do there. Down here, they're building the orchard. All right. Still under pacification for 2 turns. Nothing to do there. Now we can go to our capital and we see that we've built our infantry unit here. So you may remember we started building regular infantry, and there it is. It just popped up. And so we have a second army here. Now, with armies, you can give them leaders. We may as well give them a leader, and it may as well be defensive. So we want this guy, right? 1 and 2. He's a 2 defensive, which means he gets 2 extra dice rolls. What's his special skill? Movement penalty 1 for the entire stack because he's disorganized. Well, we don't care. He is going to command our defense here at the capital. That's an excellent defensive commander. You can also see their ratings here. 1 star over here for offensive, 2 stars over here for defensive. So we've got a new military unit. We've got our guys up here, but let's continue on with our capital. This will tell you everything that happened in the region this time. Several signs tell us that the next few months will be particularly harsh. Well, that stinks. That lessens our food output. This just happens. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. Arverni received an aging token and is now standing at -1. Now we saw that when the turn resolved, we saw that we had gotten a new negative token, and Clearwater has been completed. Excellent. So we can go build a new building. And you see this is clear here. When something is building down here, it will, the picture will be here. So you can always tell very quickly in a region, is anything being built? Nope. How many building slots? 4 of 8. Excellent. Let's go down here and build something else. Now we could build a farm. Food 12, including a bonus of 2 from wool and 2 from cattle. Nice. All resource bonuses satisfied. Infrastructure -1, that's fine. This will just click down to +10 every turn. That is a really good one to get early on, a big farm, plus with bonuses. Salt house, that's your health. So food, health, infrastructure. We got wood cutting again. Um, Castrum aquatatum needs horses. Trading would be required, and they can be imported, but we don't want to really do that this early. We could start a market, or we could build a street parlor that would give us +5 culture. That is tempting, right? Because we need more culture, but that farm is just way too tempting for us. That will really help us start building up a little quicker. So we're going to build that farm. Now, why did we get these bonuses, you may say? Um, it's a great question, right? We needed cattle, we needed wool, and that's right up here. It tells you that. Um, and you can see that as you go through the game, you'll be able to see what could possibly give you bonuses. Where am I? I'm not finding it right now. Where is it? Hold on. Oh, by the way, this can be upgraded to large farm. Hmm. I may have to come back to that next episode. Okay, I think we've done enough for this episode. I'm trying to keep these a little shorter. I don't want them to be, an hour long. So we have conquered a new territory. We have started building a few things, more things in our capital. We have very poor culture. We've got to build that up. But things are progressing well. If we look back at the map, hey, we've got 4 regions, 4 provinces, or it's not a province, 4 regions here. That's very good. And we're starting to put together a lot of what is Aquitania, that province, which we will probably want to get at some point. So until next time, thank you very much for joining me. I'm really enjoying this series. I love this game, and I think you will too as you play it. It's very intuitive, and as you get into it and start to understand the trading aspects of it, it just gets more and more fun. So, anyway, this has been Strategy Gaming Dojo. I'll talk to you next time.